Bangladesh is burning. Fires are being set in homes, factories, and even cars. About 30% of the seats were reserved for the families of those who had fought in the 1971 war. Moreover, as we have heard, there's a significant distress among the Hindu population in Bangladesh. The situation had become so bad that the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had to run away from the country. Bangladesh is burning. Fires are being set in homes, factories, and even cars. The situation had become so bad that the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina had to run away from the country. This is the reality of what's happening in Bangladesh politics right now. And we all know politics and economy are closely related, and both significantly impact each other. You must have read about the political impact on TV, social media, and newspapers. But today I'm going to talk about the economic impact, how this crisis might affect the economy, especially the Indian economy and businesses. What does India export to Bangladesh? How much does it export? What does it import? How much does it import? How many projects are we working on together, and how many of these projects have strategic importance? Bangladesh is a major player in the global textile market. It's the second largest exporter of textile in the world after China. What will happen to the textile industry after this crisis? Is there a possibility that the textile business will shift towards India? What impact will this crisis have on the Indian government, the Indian companies working in Bangladesh, and most importantly, on the common man? I will explain everything in today's video, so let's discuss how the economies of India and Bangladesh are connected and how this crisis could shape the future. Firstly, for those who have no idea and are hearing about this news for the first time, let me quickly explain what exactly happened. In Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina's government had been in power for the past 15 years from 2009 until just a few days ago in 2024. Now, every political leader has either a positive or negative perspective towards other nations. And fortunately, Sheikh Hasina's outlook towards India was positive. During her tenure, India's exports to Bangladesh increased significantly, and terrorist activities in the northeastern regions were efficiently managed and under control. However, there was a major problem in Bangladesh of unemployment. More than 20 million people were without jobs. The private sector did not attract much interest, and although the textile market was doing well, the jobs there were low paying, so educated youth did not want to work there. The educated youth had no options in the private sector, so they sought government jobs. However, there was a significant reservation in the government positions. About 30% of the seats were reserved for the families of those who had fought in the 1971 war. Although this provision was removed by Sheikh Hasina's government after protests, it was later reinstated by the court. After the court's decision, students began protesting, and the protests gradually became more violent. Eventually, some opposition parties like the BNP and others joined the protests, and the situation escalated to the point where there were arsons and riots. The situation got out of control that Sheikh Hasina was forced to resign and leave the country. Currently, a temporary government has been formed in Bangladesh under the leadership of Muhammad Yunus, who is a Nobel Award winner. However, it is uncertain how long this government will last. It's also unclear whether this government will favor India, China, or Pakistan. So there is a lot of uncertainty about the political future. What will happen politically is a topic for later discussion, but right now let's focus on the economic implications. First, let's look at what we import from Bangladesh and how much we import, and what impact this crisis might have on it. Currently, we import goods worth a total 1.8 billion from Bangladesh, which is approximately 15,000 crores. Let me tell you about the 5 main imports we do. We import ready-made garments worth 600 million, which is approximately 5,000 crores. Then there are other textiles apart from ready-made garments, which account for about 325 million. If you look closely, 50% of our imports are clothes and related items. Next, we import agro-related products worth 300 million, engineering goods worth 250 million, and leather-related products worth 78 million. As you can see, overall, we do not import anything substantial that would create a heavy dependency. So this crisis will not significantly impact our imports. As for the textile industry, I will discuss that separately later in the video. Now let's talk about exports. Will there be any impact? Let's see. We export a total of 11.1 billion to Bangladesh, which is approximately 90,000 crores. This means that we export 5 to 6 times more than what we import from them. We export agricultural related products worth 2.5 billion, which is approximately 20,000 crores. This includes specific type of textile raw material like cotton, which amounts to 2 billion. Bangladesh is our biggest buyer of cotton exports. So if the current crisis lasts for a long time, our cotton exports could be significantly impacted. We also export engineering goods worth 2 billion, petrochemicals worth 1.25 billion, and chemicals worth about 1 billion. Additionally, we also export electricity and various FMCG food items. The key question is whether our 90,000 crore worth of export will continue. The likely answer is that most of it will, as Bangladesh does not have many alternative options. Even if a new government comes in and isn't friendly, or if a hostile government comes in, they can't just cut it to zero. They will need to continue some level of trade. In terms of overall exports, only 2.5% of our exports go to Bangladesh. So even if it's reduced by half, it would only impact about 1.25%, which is not very significant. However, our plans to significantly increase this trade over the next 5 to 10 years have been affected. It's similar to what happened with our relations with the Maldives, how things changed when the government changed. We might see a similar scenario with Bangladesh. Now let's talk about the impact on the textile industry. Listen very carefully. The entire Bangladesh economy relies heavily on textile manufacturing. About 85% of their total foreign exchange comes from textile. Last year, they exported 42 billion worth of garments. All the major global brands like Zara, H&M, and even Indian companies have their garments manufactured there. While the brands are international, all the manufacturing happens in Bangladesh. And since the world has decided not to overly depend on China, production in Bangladesh has increased significantly. The textile factories are the lifeline of Bangladesh. If something happens to them, it could lead to an economic crisis, and right now these factories are being targeted and burned down. Let me tell you, most of these factories are owned by the Prime Minister Hasina and her party supporters. Protesters are now targeting these factories. If only a few factories are affected and things return to normal within a few months, the impact may be minimal. However, if many factories are destroyed and the crisis continues for 3 months, 6 months, or even a year, then the garment industry and related sectors will be severely impacted. This disruption will not only impact the Indian economy but will also cause a severe impact worldwide. Initially, stores will sell off their existing stock of clothes, but no new clothes will be produced and new designs won't be coming out. Any new designs that do come out will be limited and their prices will be higher. So you might not find new styles, and the ones you do find will be quite expensive. This is quite likely to happen. Sometimes prices increase due to the genuine problems, and sometimes seeing an opportunity, some people deliberately raise prices. For example, a shirt that used to cost 1000 rupee might now cost 2000 with the excuse being the crisis. Just like when petrol becomes 1 rupee more expensive, some sellers double the prices of basic necessities even if there's no real reason to do so. However, in this whole crisis, there's a small ray of hope. If the disruption in Bangladesh lasts for a long period, some of the orders that used to go to Bangladesh might come to Indian manufacturers. This could give India a chance to capture a portion of the textile industry. In fact, some Indian companies have already started receiving orders due to the current situation. Some companies that have started manufacturing in India have also seen a slight increase in their share prices. Now, the key question is whether India has the infrastructure to take over the textile industry that Bangladesh has developed. Do you think India can take this challenge or not? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Another thing to consider is that since Bangladesh is a very underdeveloped country, they were operating with 0% duty. However, India has import duties which could lead to price differences and affect our costing. So can we capture that market? This is a big question. Now let's look at the projects we were working on and are currently involved in with Bangladesh and how this crisis might impact them. Firstly, Indian Railways intersects with Bangladesh Railways at 5 points, but all 5 points have been halted due to the crisis. Whether they will be restarted or not is not sure. There were ongoing discussions about a new railway project from Agartala to Bangladesh, but now this project is in doubt too. Additionally, there was another discussion of a project to develop a rail and road network across India, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh, but that's now uncertain too. If Sheikh Hasina had remained in power, this project might have progressed, but the situation is unclear now. There's a company called Rights Limited which is associated with Indian Railways and had also received a contract worth 950 crores to supply 200 broad gauge passenger carriages to Bangladesh Railways. Now this too is uncertain. The world's longest ferry, which connected Varanasi to Dibrugarh in Assam, passing through Bangladesh, has also been put on hold. Additionally, Prime Minister Modi and Sheikh Hasina jointly inaugurated the Indo-Bangladesh Friendship Pipeline, which had the capacity to transport 1 million tons of high-speed diesel annually. But now this project is also at risk due to the current crisis. So these were all government-to-government agreements. But what about agreements with the private companies? For instance, the Numaligarh refinery in Assam, which has been supplying petroleum products to Bangladesh for the past 15 years. Whether the new government will continue this or not is unknown. Adani Power currently supplies 1500 megawatts of electricity to Bangladesh. Now it's uncertain whether this contract will remain in place or not. However, since this is a power purchase agreement with the Bangladesh Electricity Board, hopefully Bangladesh doesn't have many other options, so they can't terminate it immediately. They still need electricity, but in the future they might negotiate a different arrangement with China and possibly exclude Adani. One more company, Marico, which makes parachute oil, Setwet Gel and Saffola, gets 44% of its international business from Bangladesh. So their revenue will take a significant hit and their share price might fluctuate. There are also many other Indian companies like Amul and Dabur, which gets 1 to 5% of their business from Bangladesh. While it's not substantial, there will be still some impact. One major impact that India will face is related to national security, which will also affect businesses. Now, if you look at the map of India, you will see how closely Bangladesh is connected to India's northeastern region. Before Sheikh Hasina's government, there were some terrorist groups that would come to the northeast, spread violence, and then escape to Bangladesh. Under Hasina's government, these activities were largely controlled and there was almost complete peace in the northeast. But now that the Hasina government is gone and a new government might come, there is a risk that these activities could resume. This puts a big question mark on all the developments that has happened so far in the northeast or that is currently ongoing, as well as any future plans for development. India's resources which have been invested might be wasted, or the resources that were planned to be invested in the future might be at risk. Although this is primarily a political issue, it will have an economic impact as well. Another geopolitical reason is China, which is trying to surround us from different places and turn our neighbors against us. Currently, Bangladesh is our neighbor and shares a 4,100-kilometer border with us. When things were stable, we had no tension and our army was deployed elsewhere. But now China might try to establish its influence here, and securing this long border will require us to invest money and redeploy the army. Our focus was solely on growth, but now there will be some distraction towards these issues. Moreover, as we have heard, there's a significant distress among the Hindu population in Bangladesh. If even a small percentage, say 10% of the 15 million Hindus there decide to come to India, it could mean 1.5 to 2 million people entering the country, which would lead to a major crisis. While the crisis in Bangladesh hasn't had a substantial impact on business so far, it has put our national security at considerable risk. Now we will have to see how long this crisis lasts, whether it's a week, a month or a year, who forms the new government, how long it stays and what their stance will be. Until then, the situation remains concerning. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be back with the next video soon. Until then, thank you.